Welcome to ModiMakes.
What's good, everybody? My name is Modi, this is ModiMakes, and today we got another commission coming in for a Bleach painted hoodie. So let's break open the bag and check out what we've got. It's probably pretty hard for you guys to tell on camera, but this hoodie is actually a dark navy blue instead of a black. And each color of the hoodie responds to the bleach a little bit differently and gives you a little bit of a different color for the designs. And I've never used a blue hoodie before, so I'm interested to see how this one plays out. But we won't know about that until we get to the actual bleaching process. And before we start putting bleach to the hoodie itself, we've got to transfer over our sketch. So we're gonna grab a chalk pencil and pour a little bit of water in a container to dip it into, and start by putting a big grid on the back of the hoodie to use as reference for that sketch transfer. Now, to line up our sketch with this grid, we're just gonna take a photo of it. In this case, I'm using my iPad as per usual because that's where I've made all my sketches. And then we're just gonna lay that photo of the grid underneath our sketch so we can see where all the lines line up with our grid lines. Then from there, it's just a matter of using that chalk pencil and water to draw on the sketch as close to accurately as possible. This can be a pretty frustrating process because as you dip the chalk pencil into the water, it kind of weakens the pencil a little bit, and it often likes to break off the tip, which can just be a little bit annoying. Now, for this hoodie commission, I was asked to make the design based around Disney. My idea was to start with a pretty janked up Mickey looking head to make it more in my style, you know, a little gritty and grimy. And then above that, I wanted to use the old Disney movie silhouette of their castle, but then turn it into the Seattle skyline using the Space Needle for the tallest tower, and using either just some buildings, evergreen trees, or the monorail as different parts of the silhouette. And then down below Mickey's head, I wanted to use what is easily one of the most iconic images from Disney movies, in my opinion, because as a kid, I was always a huge fan of Winnie the Pooh, and I always loved in the books the illustrations of him flying up on the balloon to go to that beehive and get himself his honey that he needs so desperately. So I got Winnie the Pooh flying on the balloon with a jug of honey, and put a nice little cloud motif going along the left side to frame the entire piece with another giant curved line. Now that we're done with the main design on the back, it's time to get to that chest logo design and the sleeve design, as I always do. For the chest logo, like I've said in the past, I like to use whatever I feel is the most iconic image from the back, but slightly changed it. So for this one, I went with the Mickey Mouse motif that I made for the back, made it a little bit smaller and made him looking off to the side to where that sleeve design is going to be, just to keep the symmetry between the front and the back designs and keep everything cohesive. Then for the sleeve design, as always, my heart logo on the top with an X for that streetwear brand collaboration. And then I wanted to bring back that jar of honey because I thought it would actually just be pretty funny to use here. And also it's a good motif to use here. It's very iconic as an image, and it's very recognizable while still being interesting, different, and like I said, a little bit goofy and funny to bring my personality into it. All right, now that we have everything we need all sketched in and ready to go, it's time to get into that bleaching process. So just make sure you grab a plastic container of some sort that can hold the bleach that won't be damaged by it. Make sure you grab yourself your bleach, of course, and then I never like to work with this much bleach in a closed area like this studio that I'm in without having a glove on the hand that I'm using for my paintbrush and a mask on that's going to stop from those bleach fumes getting me a little bit loopy during this process. And since I've done it so much recently, I can't be risking breathing in too many of those fumes. It's just not worth it. And then it's just a matter of going over all those lines you've created as accurately as possible and as carefully as possible. There is no undoing anything with bleach here, so you want to make sure that you're doing it right the first time, and just be slow and methodical about it. Make sure you're always cognizant of where your hand's going to be when you're painting on things, because you don't want to put your hand down in some bleach and then move it over to a different area and rub your bleach all over the place, because then you're gonna ruin this design that you've worked so hard for. Just be slow and careful, and then I always like to work from one corner to another to get a nice gradient going. As the bleach stays on the cloth longer, it's going to dye it more and more white, take more and more of the color away, and I like the idea of having a little bit of gradient through it, going from that whiter color to that more reddish color. And it turns out that with this navy hoodie, it's pretty similar to the black hoodies in terms of what you get out of the bleached colors. I wasn't sure because with the green ones that I do, they come out really white, but these ones still seem to maintain that light pink to orange to red color gradient, but they seem to have a little bit less of that orangish color in there and goes more just from a really light red, which kind of turns into a pinkish color, to a more vibrant red color. Now, when I work on these bleach painted hoodies, I always like to have two brushes on hand. One flat brush that I use for most of my lines. I just find it to be really clean for this instance, and I find that I have more control over it, but that can be a little bit too thick for certain areas, so I also like to keep one normal, smaller brush-tipped paintbrush on hand for any like hyper detailed areas that I need to do. But generally speaking, for about 90% of any of my hoodie designs here, I'm going to be using my flat-headed brush. I think for this one, it was probably even more like 99. I think there was only one tiny area where I ended up using the small brush in, which I was pretty happy with because this design is a little bit more detailed than what I'm generally going for with these hoodie designs, and I just wanted to push myself a little bit with this one to see just how into the nitty-gritty I could get, and it ended up working out pretty well, I think. The other key I would say when working on these hoodie designs is to make sure that when you're doing fills, you're doing those fills as quickly as possible after you've outlined them, because you can double expose the bleach and make your lines extremely white while your fills remain pretty red. So if you can just use it all at the same time, you'll get a nice flat color going through it. Whereas if you do all the outlines first and then come in to do the fills, you'll have white lines around the edges with the red fill. And it depends on what you want. If you want those white outlines to give it more of an outlined look, you can keep that in mind and use that here as you wish. I personally try to make everything as matte as possible, just like the sketches that I show people, just because I think it gives it a cleaner, more graphic look to the whole piece. But, you know, just keep that in mind and use it to your advantage for whatever desired outcome you have. And after finishing each section of the hoodie, I always make sure to dunk it into water to stop the bleaching process so that you can stop it at whatever exact color or gradient you want it to be. Like I said, as you leave it on there longer, it's going to get whiter and whiter, and if you don't want it to be completely white, you're gonna want to make sure to dunk it into some water in between each section. I like to do the chest logo design and the sleeve design and then dunk it in the water for both of those parts. Then I'll come back and do the back design and then dunk the entire thing into water to really seal the entire deal, and then you're done with the hoodie and you're good to go. You just got to make sure to take it home and give it a good wash in a washing machine before wearing it, just in case there's a little bit of bleach lingering around. That'll make sure to completely wash everything out, and then it'll be safe to wear, safe to handle, and you won't have any surprise color changes coming your way. Well, there you have it, my peoples. My Modi X Disney X Seattle designed hoodie is complete, and I am very happy with how this one turned out. Like the other ones, I feel like I've been getting a little bit better each time I've done this, and like I said, I went for a little more detail on this one than the other ones, and I was really happy with the fact that I was able to maintain that detail, because I really wasn't sure when I did the sketch if I was going to be able to get all the lines in that I had set up, just because some of them are really close together and the bleach will bleed out just a tiny little bit. I mean, you can keep clean lines on there, but when they get too close, the surface tension between the two little puddles of bleach will tend to zoom themselves together and just cover the entire area. So I was happy that I was able to keep pretty much everything separated in there. You know, there's a little bit onesie-twosie things that I think I'll be the only ones to notice, and I'm not going to tell you what they are, because why would I want to expose myself like that? And you know, I think the design is really interesting. I didn't quite fill up the back as much as I normally do and kept it into more of a traditional kind of screen printed look where it has a certain edge to edge area that you can actually print designs on, and it's not just the entire hoodie that you can do everything on. And I think that gives it a more classic clothing design feel to it that I think really works really well for this design. And I was really happy to be able to get my Winnie the Pooh on that mean looking balloon in there. And I really like that Mickey Mouse motif that I created. I think it's interesting and it's recognizable as Mickey without being just a Mickey Mouse face, because I don't want to get sued or anything either, you know? Disney's pretty litigious about that sort of stuff, so gotta keep your distance on there. But let me know what you guys think of the piece down in the comments below, and let me know if you have any questions about this video or any other video I've made. I'll be happy to read through them all and respond to them personally, as I always do. And you know, if you like the video, go ahead and give me a like. That would be amazing. And if you like me, you like the channel, and you want to help support me, the number one thing that you can do is to subscribe. I really couldn't thank you enough if you did. It means the world to me. And with all that out of the way, and without further ado, let's get in those final shots, shall we?
Thanks for watching.